Welcome to African Today, the voice of a changing continent. We bring you the stories shaping Africa's present and future, from breaking news and bold analysis to culture, innovation, and voices on the ground. We're here to inform, inspire, and amplify the heartbeat of Africa every single day. Thank you for stopping by the channel. We hope you enjoy our video. Let's begin. Côte d'Ivoire. Rising tensions and unrest ahead of the 2025 elections. Abidjan. As Côte d'Ivoire heads into a tense electoral season, the country that once symbolized West Africa's post-conflict recovery is again on edge. A combination of high-stakes politics, the exclusion of prominent opposition figures, and recent street confrontations has pushed the West African nation toward a volatile run-up to the presidential vote scheduled for October 12, 2025. What's happening now? Over the last weeks, protests and clashes have flared in Abidjan and other urban centers after authorities barred or otherwise sidelined several opposition leaders and parties from the electoral roll. Opposition supporters staged demonstrations that in places turned violent, with incidents including burned buses, attacks on security forces, and a series of arrests that opposition parties have denounced as arbitrary and politically motivated. Government spokespeople have defended security actions as lawful responses to criminal acts. International observers and regional monitors are watching closely. United Nations and regional bodies have issued calls for restraint and for steps to lower tensions, while analysts warn that without effective de-escalation, the country risks repeating episodes of election-related unrest that marred previous polls. The political fault lines. At the heart of the crisis is President Alassane Ouattara's decision to seek what critics call a fourth term, a move that opponents say violates the spirit, if not the letter, of earlier commitments and fuels perceptions of democratic backsliding. With several high-profile figures effectively barred from running, many Ivorians feel the contest will lack credible competition, a development that deepens grievances and motivates street mobilization. African elections. The scars of the 2010-2011 post-electoral crisis remain a grim reference point. That conflict cost thousands of lives and left communities polarized. Many voters and civic groups fear a repeat if the election outcome is widely seen as illegitimate. Analysts stress that political exclusion, unaddressed social grievances, and heavy-handed policing are a combustible mix in a country with a recent history of politically driven violence. Security dynamics and regional context. Côte d'Ivoire's security situation cannot be read in isolation. The Sahel and parts of West Africa have seen a spate of military takeovers, insurgencies, and popular uprisings in recent years. That regional volatility, including political currents in neighboring countries like Burkina Faso, has sharpened domestic fears that external actors or contagion effects could complicate an already fraught season. UN and ECOWAS representatives have urged collective engagement to reduce risks and bolster calm. Within the country, security forces have been deployed to key districts. Checkpoints and heightened patrols are now part of daily life in parts of Abidjan. Human rights groups and opposition politicians say these measures have sometimes led to arbitrary detentions and intimidation, a claim the Interior Ministry rejects as necessary law enforcement. The handling of detainees and the judicial process in the coming weeks will be a critical barometer of whether tensions increase or dissipate. Economic and social stakes. Côte d'Ivoire is not only politically important, it is an economic powerhouse in Francophone West Africa. Strong growth in recent years has bolstered the incumbent's popularity among some constituencies, but persistent inequalities, youth unemployment, and fears over land and identity politics mean economic gains have not translated into a broad sense of security for all Ivorians. Analysts warn that election violence would not only be a human tragedy, but also a blow to investor confidence and regional economic integration. Who's pushing for what? Opposition parties and civil society groups are calling for an inclusive process, the reinstatement of barred candidates where legally possible, transparent investigation into recent violent incidents, and international guarantees that the vote will be free and fair. The government insists the electoral timetable must be respected and portrays some opposition actions as destabilizing. International mediators, including ECOWAS and the UN Office for West Africa and the Sahel, UNOWAS, have offered to facilitate dialogue, but so far those offers have produced limited breakthroughs. African elections. Risks and scenarios. Observers outline several possible trajectories for the next 3 months. Managed election. Low violence. Authorities and opposition actors accept limited concessions, e.g., guarantees on policing transparent counting. Protests remain mainly peaceful, and the vote proceeds with localized incidents. This is the least disruptive outcome, but requires active restraint and confidence-building measures. Widespread unrest. If more opposition leaders are excluded or if security operations escalate, mass detentions, heavy use of force, protests could grow and spread to multiple cities. That would increase the risk of deaths, displacement, and potential economic shock. Externalization proxy dynamics. Regional power shifts or support from foreign actors could feed domestic polarization, a risk highlighted by the wider regional instability in parts of the Sahel. What could lower the temperature? Conflict prevention experts emphasize a short list of practical steps that could reduce the odds of violence. Transparent handling of electoral complaints, independent investigations into recent violence and arrests, opening space for mediated dialogue, including third-party observers, and firm rules limiting the use of force in crowd control. ECOWAS and the UN have the tools and the diplomatic leverage to press for such steps. Whether they will be used decisively remains uncertain. Voices on the ground. Residents interviewed in Abidjan speak of fear and fatigue. Older Ivorians remember the years of civil war and dread another cycle. Younger people say they feel left out of high-level politics, yet are ready to mobilize around perceived injustices. Political leaders trade accusations, security services warn of spoilers, and ordinary Ivorians worry most about safety and livelihoods. The bottom line, Côte d'Ivoire's October 12, 2025 election will be a test not only of a single country's political institutions, but of regional resilience to electoral instability. With recent arrests, bans on key figures, and street clashes already taking place, the coming weeks are crucial. Without meaningful confidence-building measures, the risk of a serious escalation remains significant. For now, the international community and regional bodies say they are ready to help. Whether their engagement will be timely and sufficient is a question Ivorians and their neighbors are watching closely. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe to help grow the channel. Until next time, see you soon.